Welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha, a podcast shared by David Roylance. This podcast is dedicated to guiding you to completely eliminate the discontent mind and the suffering it causes by attaining enlightenment. Learn and practice the teachings of Gautama Buddha that will guide you to fully attain a peaceful, calm, serene, and content mind with joy. To support this podcast, visit patreon.com/support Buddha or visit buddhadailywisdom.com, where you will discover a full range of courses, retreats, and online learning resources to assist you on the path to enlightenment. Now, here's our teacher to share more.
Sawadee Kap. Hello and welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha. Today is our group learning program, and we're in part 2 of a 4-part series that I'm doing on loving kindness meditation. This is where you can learn loving kindness meditation and developing that in your practice so that then you can go out into the world and practice loving kindness through your intentions, speech, and actions. This is going to transform the mind away from anger, hatred, ill will, and all those lesser versions like frustration, irritation, annoyance. By the time you fully eliminate ill will from the mind, you won't even have the slightest dislike towards another being. This is where the mind is transformed and you're uprooting the fetter or the taint or the pollution or defilement of ill will. So loving kindness meditation is very important for one to develop as part of their journey to enlightenment. What I'm going to do today is just remind you briefly and kind of refresh your memory on what we shared last week in terms of loving kindness meditation. Then we're going to actually just jump right in and do a meditation session together. Last week I did just a very brief, basic loving kindness meditation just to give you a chance to understand the structure and the framework of this meditation, just to kind of get you into practicing it from what we did previously, which is the 4-part series on breathing mindfulness meditation. Then last week we did the first part of the 4-part series on loving kindness. So now each session of our loving kindness 4-part series is I'm just going to be doing different types of loving kindness meditation, creating different rings so you can kind of get a sampling of what that's like. And then remember, you're customizing this based on your specific needs. So welcome to our class today. Let me share some visual aids with you to be able to help you understand what it is I'm going to refresh your memory on for those of you guys that maybe need that refresher, or perhaps you weren't even in the class last week. So this will be a good opportunity to refresh your memory or just kind of understand what it is that I taught. So I taught a bunch of other things to kind of help you see where loving kindness plugs into the Eightfold Path, because the Eightfold Path is that core central teaching of the Buddha, where you're learning about how to eliminate discontent feelings through developing your wisdom, moral conduct, and mental discipline. And I showed you some various words of the Buddha where he was teaching that loving kindness meditation is to abandon anger, hatred, and ill will. But here, I'd just like to refresh your memory on the basic structure of the meditation. And perhaps you've even been practicing this over the last week. So now we can do this together. And then I'll open up to any questions that might have come up in your practice over the last week so that you can get clarification on the loving kindness meditation. So what you do in terms of developing your loving kindness meditation is you start with chanting, if you'd like to do the chanting, or just setting up mindfulness in front of you and easing the mind into meditation. Then you're going to spend a period of time, maybe 5 minutes, at the very most, probably 10 minutes, doing breathing mindfulness meditation, focusing on the breath. And anytime the mind moves off the breath, you cut that off and let it go and bring the mind back to the breath. And that's kind of just preparing the mind and priming it for the loving kindness meditation. Then you're going to do loving kindness meditation, where you create these rings. You start with may I be peaceful, doing 4 affirmations of may I be peaceful, may I be safe, may I be well, may I be free of all discontentedness and the suffering it causes. And you're going to do this on the out breath. So as you're breathing out, you repeat this affirmation in the mind. And then you breathe in, and then you repeat the next affirmation in the mind. And then you create these successively wider and wider rings where you're covering individuals or groups of individuals that you're noticing that you have anger, hatred, ill will, or any of those lesser versions for. Maybe you're including your mom or your dad or your brothers or sisters or friends or life partner, your children, maybe your boss or your coworkers, your neighbors. Maybe if you have anger, hatred, ill will for police officers, you might include them as a group, or politicians, or waiters or waitresses, or any number of individuals or groups of individuals. You would like to create about 6 to 8 rings. Once you get beyond that, it's kind of like too much for the mind to really handle, and it kind of makes your meditation really long. But 6 to 8 rings is about perfect. And you would like to end your meditation where at least the last ring, you've covered all beings. So may all beings be peaceful, safe, well, and free of discontentedness and the suffering it causes. And this is going to ensure that you're all inclusive and you're not leaving anybody out of your meditation whatsoever. Then remember, after that, you're going back to the breathing mindfulness meditation for another 5 to 10 minutes, and then you're coming out with the chanting. Now, creating these rings, some people like to start with a ring or two of people that they already have loving kindness for, so that kind of bubbles it up in the mind. And then they like to do kind of a ring or two of people they're more neutral about. Maybe they don't hate them, but they don't necessarily love them either. They're just kind of more neutral, maybe like a neighbor, a coworker or something. And then you go to some individuals that you do have anger, hatred, ill will, or those lesser versions, like you're annoyed or you're frustrated or agitated when you're around this person. And what you're doing is you're working to transform your mind. You're not sending loving kindness to them and trying to change them through your meditation. That's not possible. If that was possible, there would be no such thing as prisons or murders or rapes, because we would just change people who are having challenges and difficulties. Each individual has to choose to change for themselves. So what you're doing is you're transforming your mind. You're either cultivating and encouraging, supporting, and not allowing to fade that loving kindness for people that you currently have loving kindness for, or you're cultivating loving kindness in the mind for people you're more neutral about, or that you do have anger, hatred, and ill will towards. And you would like to customize this, as I mentioned, for your specific needs. And this meditation may change at different times. You might go a few weeks where it has certain people in that meditation that you're working to eliminate anger, hatred, ill will for. But then as you wear that away and you notice that your mind doesn't have any of that resentment or hostility or bitterness towards that person anymore, or that group of people, you might now move that group or that person out of your meditation and bring in another one. So it maybe takes at least a week or 2 or 3 for any one particular person or group of people that you're meditating in your meditation to wear away that anger, hatred, ill will. If you have deeply rooted anger, hatred, and ill will, it may take even longer. I gave an example from my childhood growing up that I had a lot of resentment towards my mom growing up for things that happened all throughout my life. So it took me a good 6 months to wear that away. But eventually the mind will let it go, and then you can get liberated from those painful feelings. And now you can be more loving and kind in your relationships and start experiencing improved results. So the meditation is to kind of build up your gas tank, so to speak, kind of build up the mind. And then when you go out in the world, now you practice through your intention, speech, and actions being loving and kind. And this is where the real transformation is happening within your own mind, but then also within your relationships, that you can be loving and kind in all situations. Whereas if somebody's bitter and hostile and aggressive, sometimes you might take that on and think that you've caused that, but you haven't caused their bitterness and hostility. It's always wise to look at your own intention, speech, and actions whenever somebody is bitter and harsh and hostile or aggressive, and see if there's anything that you did that created conditions which allowed their mind to become that way. But if their mind is bitter, harsh, hostile, if they have a dislike towards you, this is what's going on in their mind. But there's certainly things that an individual can do that create conditions for those things to then occur. Like, for example, if you stole someone's car, or if you were harsh and bitter and hostile in your speech, then this person's mind has more of a potential of becoming angry and hostile, but you still didn't cause it even at that point. So each individual's mind is causing their own discontent feelings. So one of the things that the Buddha is teaching you is not only how to get to liberation where you can be peaceful and joyful permanently, but he's also helping you understand how to relate to all beings. if a being is unenlightened and you were bitter and harsh and hostile to them, they're going to get bitter, harsh, and hostile right back. But if a being is enlightened and you're bitter and harsh and hostile, they're not going to be bitter, harsh, and hostile back with you. But over time, if you wear away your bitterness and hostility, then more and more beings will be loving and kind with you because that's what you're putting out. So this is the meditation to help you accomplish this. And if you've been practicing this over the week, then you might have questions when we get to our question period. But let's go ahead and do the loving kindness meditation together so that you can experience another session of that, because last session I just did a very basic one. But now this session I'm going to do a little bit more to kind of show you some different variety of rings. And keep in mind that I'm doing a meditation that's based on all of us being together and kind of doing general rings, where you would like to do something more specific for your needs. So the affirmations that I'm saying out loud, you're just repeating that in the mind. You're not saying it out loud. You're just repeating it in the mind, directing it inward. So if you'd like to take a position, either seated, lying, or standing, these are the three positions we tend to do loving kindness in. Learning online, oftentimes people are doing the seated position because that tends to work out really well. So if you're sitting on the floor, you might have a cushion under your rear in order to get the hips up in the air with the reduced angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles. That gives the circulation of the legs more flow so that there doesn't become any pain or numbness in the legs. The hands and the arms, the Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and then he put that into his lap. So you're always welcome to do that. The upper body should be erect. This keeps the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. So if you have the upper body erect, the mind can be active and attentive during your meditation. Then as I chant, you're welcome to chant along and practice the chanting right along with me. Or if you would like to just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, you can do that as well. And after the chanting, I'll come back with some guidance. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Bhutang Bhagavanhang Abhivateyami Savakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharanang Sammuno Sakhato Rokavito Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang Poto Bhagavate. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. I'm just going to give some very light and basic guidance here for breathing mindfulness meditation. And then I'll be back with guidance on loving kindness meditation. So here you're just establishing the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Breathing in through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And when you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, bringing the mind into the present moment by focusing on the breath. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Breathing in and out. Continuing to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Whenever you get to your out breath, repeat these affirmations in the mind. May I be peaceful. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be free of all discontentedness and the suffering it causes. May we be peaceful. May we be safe. May we be well. May we be free of all discontentedness and the suffering it causes. May Mom and Dad be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering it causes. May all those who have harmed me be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering it causes. May all those whom I have harmed be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering it causes. May all beings be peaceful. May all, may all beings be safe. May all beings be well. May all beings be free of discontentedness and the suffering it causes. Now return back to breathing mindfulness meditation, focusing on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมะขวาพุทธังมะขวันตังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมะขวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิโตอนุเตโรปุริสานามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังพุทโธภะคะวะติ All right, if you would gradually like to make your way out of meditation, I'll go ahead and open up to any and all questions that you guys might have related to loving kindness meditation or anything related to the teachings of the Buddha and the path to enlightenment. You're welcome to put that into Facebook, YouTube, or in Zoom. I'll be able to see your questions here in the comments section. And then if you're in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand and ask any questions or follow-up questions directly. So I'll just turn things over to you guys to see if there's any questions. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions here. So as you guys have questions, you're welcome to post those into the Facebook group, ask them in an online class. You can send private messages or schedule personal guidance with me, and I'll be able to help you work through any of the individual challenges you might be having or help you create more clarity on the teachings of the Buddha. What I would suggest you guys do is continue to develop your meditation practice. If you're building up to 2 or 3 sessions per day for 30 minutes or more, gradually work in that direction. You might decide to make one of those sessions a loving kindness meditation, which of course includes a bit of breathing mindfulness meditation. Oftentimes it's great to do that in the morning. And then in the evening, you might decide to do your breathing mindfulness meditation. But if you're having a lot of challenges with anger, hatred, ill will, frustration, irritation, negative self-talk in the mind, things like this, you might decide to do both of those with the loving kindness meditation. And if you can get a middle of the day meditation in, that would be really wonderful for you to help build up the mind and cultivate the mind. I'm noticing there's a question coming in on Zoom, so I'll go ahead and answer that. It's from Miriam. Do we need to repeat each ring before going to the next one? So you would like to do all 4 of those affirmations at least once for each ring. And then when you're done, go to the next ring. So rings being I, we, mom and dad, so forth and so on. Those are the individual rings. And then there's 4 affirmations in each individual ring. So you would like to do at least 1 ring before you move on to the next. Sometimes what people like to do, if they're having a lot of challenges with maybe negative self-talk, you might do that ring of I multiple times. So you do 4 affirmations. May I be peaceful, safe, well, and free of discontentedness for I. And then you might decide to do it again and again, and then ultimately go to all beings. Or you might decide, like what I did when I first started, I had a lot of negative self-talk and I had resentment towards mom. So I would do myself 2 or 3 times, then I would do mom 2 or 3 times, and then I would just go to all beings and I was done. And then over time that evolved where mom didn't need to be in there anymore. I didn't need to have so many rings for myself. So I would just do I once, those 4 affirmations, and then I would do other rings of individuals, right? So you can structure this how you like, but it's going to be dependent on what's going on in your own mind. So if you do at least 1 ring with 4 affirmations per group or per individual, that would be ideal in doing 6 to 8 rings. But if you're having difficulties with a lot of resentment or animosity or bitterness for any one person or group of people, you might choose to do that particular ring more than once in your meditation. And that will help wear it away more readily because you're rewiring the mind and really cultivating the loving kindness more and more in each individual meditation for that particular individual or group of individuals. I'm just looking again here to see if we have any other questions. I don't see any. You're welcome, Miriam. Pleased to help you. So next class on Wednesday, we're going to be doing the 3rd part of our 4-part series, which will be something very similar to today, but yet I'm going to be doing a different meditation. It's going to be the same style, the same structure, but I'm going to be using different rings so that you can see some different variety of options. But just keep in mind that I'm always doing very general rings based on being able to guide a group of individuals. But if you have hatred for Bob or Barbara or Mary, you would like to use those in your meditation, where I might just be saying, may my friends and associates be peaceful, right? Where you would like to really customize that for individuals or groups of individuals that your mind is struggling with. So we'll be doing that next Wednesday, which you're welcome to attend live or listen to the recording. On Sunday in the group learning program, we're going to be in chapter 2 of Developing a Life Practice, the Path That Leads to Enlightenment. Chapter 2 is titled, Why Study the Teachings of Gautama Buddha? And here we're going to have a nice discussion together. Either if you join on Zoom or you join through YouTube or Facebook, we'll be having a nice discussion together about that particular topic. And then, of course, we have our Pali Canon and English study group each Saturday. And now we have classes at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Thai time. So whether it's Sunday, Wednesday, or Saturday, I'm live streaming both of the classes that I'm doing at the temple and here from home. And depending on what time zone you're in, that might be actually Saturday evening, Tuesday evening, and Friday evening for the morning class here in Thailand. And then there's the evening class here in Thailand as well. So depending on what time zone you're in, you might decide to look at that. And as time goes on and you're not able to make certain classes, you can always reference the recording on Facebook, YouTube, or in the podcast. So thank you all for joining. I appreciate your dedication and diligence to learning and practicing the teachings of the Buddha. We'll see you guys in one of these future classes. Have a very wonderful and lovely rest of your day. Sawadee krap.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To provide support for this podcast, visit patreon.com/support Buddha. To access more teachings, visit buddhadailywisdom.com. There, you will discover a full range of courses, retreats, and online resources to assist you on the path to enlightenment. Remember to establish a daily, consistent meditation practice, along with learning and practicing these teachings. A well-developed meditation practice is the foundation in which to train the mind to attain enlightenment.